Jawnians of Planet Earth, headquartered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, home of the last living mastodon and pterodactyl. And believe you me, I did not know how to spell pterodactyl, so my boo helped me with that. She knows words real well. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought, but something about pterodactyls, and I'm wondering how our announcer lady will pronounce pterodactyl. I was texting a friend this morning and meant to type procedure, but typed propane. My conversations tend to be confusing. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought, but it is post-election, brand new day rising, working 9 to 5 out on the chain gang. We built this city on rock and roll. The hits, and nothing but the hits. Jawn in the Shenandoah Valley. Jawn episode 86. Tune in. We'll be making all kinds of stuff up.
Three little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. One frog said to the other frog, well, you better go get her. Two little frogs sitting on a log. One of them fell in. Last little frog, he sat and thought, good thing they can swim. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn. Three little frogs sitting on a log. One burst into a grin. One frog said to the other frog, wonder what's got into him. Two little frogs sitting on a log. One laughed until he is red. Last little frog, he sat and thought, must have been something I said. Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn, Jabber Jawn.
I don't know what it's about.
Oh, and we are live. Welcome. Good to see everybody. Good to be back together. Welcome. I'm Nathan Moore.
I'm Kyle Hall.
I am in Steve Moore's body, but I don't know who I am right now.
well said. You are watching Jabber Jawn. Welcome. It does appear that the chats are working, so we are seeing you whether you're on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, or hanging out in Discord. We see your words, so feel free to be a part of the conversation and help steer where we go. We have no plans on what to talk about. What is Lex laughing at?
What was that about?
I hope that was a funny edit, right, audience? That was funny.
Oh.
Kyle with the best face on.
Would
Sorry.
you remove that person from the audience right now? Security.
Security. I think security's locked. I shut the door up
cracking
there so
myself up
security
already.
can't get down.
You sound like an old TV show with that voice.
I've been watching more Me TV.
No, is that
It's catching up with
so
you.
you don't have a cold. You've just been watching Me TV.
I'm just Floyd the barber.
Right.
You've been slowly infiltrated by VTV.
Dad has a cold, and his voice has changed so much that he doesn't know who he is. Whenever he talks, he doesn't recognize the sound of his own voice. Remember the first time you ever heard your voice recorded?
Yeah,
How about every time I hear
Yeah,
my
it's
voice?
terrible. Terrible.
That's what
So
I
you're
sound like?
so you're like living with that as a
Well, I don't
actual
know. I don't
organic
know what
reality.
this voice sounds like.
Right.
I haven't really been talking since I got sick to anybody. So,
What you
when I-
probably hear is your real voice.
well, this might be it. Yeah, that's exactly it. This might be it forever too. I don't know that it's going to go back.
No way of knowing.
We're learning to live with each other
Mm-hmm.
as we speak. I might have a ability to sing, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
The future is uncharted.
Who
You have no
knows?
idea.
It's a new life.
Right. You might have a WQSV show here pretty
Yeah,
soon.
exactly.
Or just a singing
I
career.
might become a lawyer.
Oh yeah,
or with a good presence.
absolutely. John Ho.
I think I might need
Great
an
example
operation.
of that. Built an entire career on a very cool voice.
Definitely.
Just the presence.
Definitely had the voice.
Yeah,
He had a lot of other things, but he had the voice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Who was that guy that we were looking at? I had those albums. He did all the sea songs, the sea shanties and stuff. Remember we were on the porch and you were laughing about it?
Sea
Burl
shanties.
Ives.
Oh, Burl Ives.
Yeah, so you should do like a
Yeah.
Burl Ives album with that voice.
Well, if you still have it in a month, it'll make your Christmas album.
Oh, that would be
Just
wonderful.
come out with a debut Christmas album. I feel like that's never been
That
done.
might be the way to go.
That would be awesome.
I was actually thinking, like, the way your voice sounds, we should record you reading the night before Christmas.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
sounds like,
Yeah.
put that thing on a tape.
It does sound
like
like
Yeah,
the way it
we
sounds.
might want to capture this. for
Yeah, I could use some
Smithsonian
audio.
or-
I could use some voiceovers for my.
Well, this
nightly
is show number 86, so people want to go back and hear this voice, so they can forever go back to number 86.
Bookmark it.
Yep.
We got some good folks here in the crowd so far. Welcome to the show, everybody. Squan Joe is out there. Shamagugu Botmat, whatever that means.
Where have you been?
Hey, Hillary. Hillary Double just signed in. Sewing Girl. Good to see everybody. Christiana, Saul,
They're all
John.
sponsors now.
Good to see everybody.
The
Well,
guy,
they-
the guy that put gummies on a stick and melted them. I still hope is he watching? He's my favorite.
So far, I haven't seen his name, but I'll keep an eye out. I know who you're talking about. So the first comment that came in, John Dotson says, "There's an elephant in this room."
And I haven't seen it. But my eyes weren't that good anymore.
He looks like he's talking like he should be with Jack Kerouac and like some other guy talking to what was the guy with the combed over blonde hair? He was a talk show host, like the real.
Cavett?
No, he was more like a political guy.
Oh, the distinguished dude?
Yeah, he had
like
that,
had the sort of Yale accent,
Frost.
the Harvard
Yeah.
accent.
Robert Frost, or not Robert,
No.
David Frost.
No, he
No.
was like a
Early on.
political.
That
He would like interview John Lennon and give him hell, or. But you sound like an intellectual that should be down there with your pipe.
oh, what
and,
is his name? It's going to drive me crazy.
I
It's like a
can-
president.
exactly
It's
who
like
you're
a
talking about.
presidential.
become an
David is,
intellectual. I can do intellectual
Mm-hmm.
for about 5 minutes.
Right, then it starts to
Well,
taper.
the cracks open up. a little
people,
bit.
y'all have to know who we're talking about.
Oh, man.
We actually know it ourselves. We're just trying to get you to see if you know it.
Yeah.
That is one of the most. I wish I was good at impressions because I've always thought that was the most interesting accent ever. That Yale, Harvard. I can't even do it.
It sounded like he was always talking down to everybody he talked
Mhm.
to.
But that whole. I can't do impressions, but you know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, it's
Pretty
like,
accurate.
how does that even happen? It's not geographic. It's completely like financial. Like it's like rich people, but rich intellectuals.
Right.
You know, the
It's-
financial aspect.
I guess, I mean, stoners did it. Dude,
bro.
I mean, everybody thought that like people talk like this because marijuana like killed your brain cells, but really it was like you talk like that to like fit in with your crew, you know, like somebody be like, all right, dude, I'll see you later, and they turn around and be like, hi, yeah, I'd like to buy a ticket to the, you know, like it.
That was very,
But it's just interesting
that
how-
was very good, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
But how we can affect an entire accent or dialect or whatever just based on group identities and stuff is pretty amazing. It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
whole way of talking.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very well done.
I wish I could do the one I was trying to do in the first place.
I wish we could think
The
of that
Yale
guy's
accent.
name.
I don't even know if Yale's the right word, but we still haven't remembered the guy.
know.
Who's the guy we're thinking of?
Come on, chat.
Is anybody in the chat?
He wasn't a TV show. He probably owned like some right-wing magazine. Real, just oh god, what was the guy's name?
Not Buckley.
Come on, yeah,
Buckley.
Pete, yeah.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, we do have an intellectual over here.
Yeah, I used to. Well, we used to hang out at the same bar.
No, what
he
was he? What did he own a magazine or did he?
Well, he was a talk show host. I mean, he was an interviewer.
But definitely like conservative
a writer.
think tanks. Like he was probably like the founder of some conservative like Heritage
Yeah,
Foundation
that's
or
right.
stuff
Well,
like something
he
like
was
that.
a famous conservative
Right.
and well-read, and, and gave it intellectual quality to the whole idea of it. So, it was,
But he was
yeah.
he was aggressive about it though.
Who was the guy who used to
Gore Vidal.
Gore Vidal? Yeah.
His-
Um,
There's a great
Thomas Wolfe.
documentary on the them as sparring, intellectual sparring. Like they're
No, they were definitely into it.
best. I forget the name of the documentary, but it plays on like best enemies, but how their rivalry or their sparring was.
Yeah, that's what he was known for. All that get up in you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the Gore Vidal documentary about the book he wrote? The guy that let him peep through into the hotel room.
I don't know.
It's a crazy. He wrote.
Gore Vidal's?
Yeah, he did a book. He sat with this guy for like a year or something. The guy.
Oh, the guy that owned a motel?
Yeah, and he had supposedly filmed all this stuff. So when the book was getting ready to be published, it was all it was getting all this stuff, and the guy said it's all fake. I didn't really do that. And the documentary just it's crazy because the guy's like sitting at his house and people are yelling at him and stuff, and Vidal feels terrible because he can't figure out if the guy told him the truth because he wrote it like one of his like true type things. It's really cool.
I might be speaking out of turn in terms of Buckley and Vidal being the big. Hey Siri, who was Gore Vidal's rival?
I found this on the web.
No, she doesn't.
I think
she
it
misheard
was
me.
Buckley.
Because there was another like macho writer at the time that everybody was
Norman
reading.
Mailer?
Mailer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mailer and Buckley would go at it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that wraps up another episode.
Oh,
So this guy we don't know has a story to tell.
I have a question here.
Mm.
What happened to your song?
Oh my God, we didn't have opening song.
What do you mean? What? Oh, we didn't do
You
it.
didn't do a
Oh
starting
my goodness.
song.
We're just
God, we're all.
out of step.
Y'all can edit this yourself at home later.
The elephant sat on my guitar.
It's hot here in Virginia, people, wherever you are. It's like 80 degrees here today. Very uncomfortable. But no, it wasn't uncomfortable, but very hot.
We had a good shower this afternoon.
It was a good. Oh yeah.
About 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Nice little shower.
We
had-
got our
I forgot about
our
that.
kitchen ceiling painted today.
There you go.
Steve Brotzman did a great job. It looks
Steve?
amazing, like new.
There you go, Steve.
Here's hoping they can reach us. You know, life's finest teachers, the ones to show us how to do what must be done. And I don't mean abstractly, I mean matter of factly, the nuts and bolts of flying to the sun. But who can show us where to look? How will we know what must be done? I know it's written in a million books, but we can't read every one. Some say God has a plan for every woman, child, and man, of all the things to think that might be true. I don't mean abstractly, I mean matter-of-factly. I can't play piano, can you? But who can show us what it meant when first a string tied to a bow? How do we find our instrument? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I know it's a sort of prayer to get up and go out there, to know your feet can find a sacred path. And I don't mean abstractly, I mean matter-of-factly. Once you're on it, you ain't ever looking back. I have no idea how it works from where we get our gifts, but each of us, I am sure, is something nobody else is. You got this. You got this. You got this. You got this. You got this.
Ooh, yeah.
You got this.
Yeah, there you go.
Very nice. That's a good song to sing to people right now.
Is that your new harmonica?
No.
That's great. That's a good way to start her off there.
Yeah, now we're in.
All right.
Now we've arrived.
We are home. Well, I'm going to tell a story.
A story. Story
Yeah,
time. I love
it's
it.
Story time. This is all true the way I remember it. You know, you got to qualify that maybe because I'm not even using the same voice I had an hour ago, much less knowing what happened 25 years ago. This happened in 1967.
How old would you have been?
I was about 18, 17. I had graduated. I was a freshman at a small college, a small private college. And I was in class. The story I'm going to tell was that my freshman year, I must say I was not well prepared for college. I had been too sheltered and didn't really know how to behave out there on my own and free, and I abused everything, and you know, I just wasn't handling things very well. But this was even before that started. This is like this little story happened one morning, a Monday morning, and I had an 8 o'clock class, a history class, just freshman, you know, just a normal old liberal arts history class. And, well, you know, I was a freshman because, you know, nobody later on would ever have an 8 o'clock Monday class. That's the dumbest thing in the world, right there. So I was in there with some other rejects.
You were eager.
I was
wide-eyed.
I was ready to roll.
Ready to learn.
Yes, sir. We were ready to go. And, you know, this guy that was the lecturer was not a very exciting lecturer, and he failed to keep everyone awake. There were many, I mean, there was a little snoring sometimes. So it wasn't really exciting to look forward to anyway. So at 8 o'clock, everybody's in the room, and well, the rule was, and I'm a freshman, I don't know all this, but the rule was if the professor didn't show up at 10 minutes, you were dismissed. So everybody's watching the clock. Everybody's just talking, and, you know, we were getting there. You know, I got all my stuff ready, and I figured he's going to the bathroom. He'll be here in a second. Well, they came in at some point and said, the professor's not going to be able to make it this morning. He's running late. And then they looked up at the clock and they walked out. So that was like Okay, so at 8:10, everybody just got up and was because we all were going back to the dorm,
Bed.
back to bed, exactly. Or you get some coffee maybe, but mainly to bed. So, but I was moving a little slow. I was playing football and was sore, and I had all my stuff out. So everybody left, and I'm sitting in there in front of the room, and I start putting my stuff together. Just something bothered me. There was something wrong, and then I heard something and turned around, and I wasn't alone. I thought everybody had left, but there was one gentleman in the back of the room, and I say, gentleman, he was a man. I mean, those were boys, and I was a boy, but he was a man. Turns out he was a 26-year-old ex-Marine, gotten out of the service, had a wife and 2 kids, and a night job, and was going to college on the GI Bill. And he just looked at that doorway where all those kids, those friends of mine, me too, if I had been a little quicker. You know, I'm not saying they were doing anything I wouldn't have done, but he was, you know, the idea was, well, he said it. He was getting up and picking up his stuff, and he just looked at me and glared. And then he said, you know, where else are you going to go? Where you pay someone too much money to do something they're not even good at, and they don't show up and you're happy. And then he got walked out. And I'm thinking, whoa. And I sat there for a good 5 minutes. That's why I still remember it. It was a life-changing moment because I saw things differently. Now, my background allowed me to do that because my background was, what was bothering me was that I felt the same way that gentleman did. I felt like my dad put 3 kids through college on one wage while mom stayed home and was a housewife. So he was putting all that money away, and we lived like, you know, lower middle class. I'd say that, you know, maybe upper middle class, but you know. But we were cutting out coupons. We were doing everything he had to do, and that was mom's job. And so we were cutting every corner, and he was putting enough money away to send 3 kids to college. And I'm just thinking, you know, for what my dad's paying, I deserve better than this. And so I was thinking along the same line, but I didn't have anything about where that guy was coming from. But now here's where I'm taking that. That was a, you know, that made me think about some things. But I didn't get into college. I got into college. I didn't get into being in college. You know, I just didn't really, I was away from my family, and I was alone. I ended up marrying your mother when, you know, out of high school because she was my safety net. I knew her. We dated in high school. So I went back and came back my junior year and lived in the married dorms. So we were married for 2 years while I was in college.
Married dorms.
Yeah, we were in the married dorms. I was thinking today at first year's Thomas Branch and Mary Branch. But at any rate, that's going back to that story. I carried that with me, and this is where the story's going. I'm thinking about people that went to college. Now I'm going to ask you. You had 2 years of college.
3.
3. And then you left voluntarily. They didn't ask you to leave that time.
Right.
But what I'm getting at is, where do we go with this idea about how we fix our country? What we have to understand is when you look at all that red out there on that map, take North Carolina. Look at the map of North Carolina, and there are 3 distinct spots of blue. all of them around a major city, university towns. University towns. There's a culture there of education, and that education leads into lots of things. Some of it not so good, you know. But what it does is, what I'm looking at is that what's the big surprise was the difference in how red that map was the next morning. It had changed in places it shouldn't have changed. And I think what we had was a gap between what people that are out there that didn't go to college, and I'm just using, that's not the whole deal. That's just an indicator. They didn't do a lot of things that you did or that you took for granted. You know, and we're all guilty of that in different places in different ways. Some of us don't respect other people's religion like we should, because we don't have one of our own. So we don't respect. We think all people that, you know, are that religious are you know, being deluded in some way.
Brainwashed.
Brainwashed, exactly. And you know, sure enough, but what we're doing when we do that, like when we make that decision. Now, what I'm talking about, when you go back to North Carolina and the blue spots, what does that mean when you interpret that? You know, one person might say, well, what it means is the smarter people are liberal and they're going to be blue. So the red places in the country are dumb. And that's exactly what's killing us. Thinking like that is what's killing us. Because you can't reject people that easily. You know, if I do think that way, there's a reason. Now, there are dumb people in the world. I'm not going to argue. You know, we can take the test. But that's not how you get people to get together. You don't emphasize that. I saw a lot of posts today about not unfriend me. I don't want to hear from you anymore. They're saying, if you want that man as your president, then I don't want to be your friend anymore. Right. Well, that's not going to help the situation. I understand it both ways, but what I'm talking about is for those kids, when they walked out of there, they weren't thinking that they were hurting anybody's feelings. They were just reacting like normal kids. So I'm not saying they were doing anything wrong, and he certainly wasn't wrong for feeling the way he felt. Can we get those back together again? Can we go, and what it has to be, if I wanted to do a moral thing, which I didn't really have in mind, but if you wanted to bring that together, what ought to bring them together is the fact they want to learn from what that teacher is teaching them. They want to be there for the same reason. Right. And that's what we want. I don't care if you voted for Trump or you voted for Kamala, you know, whatever, whoever you voted for, you are participating in our system and need to be respected for that, period.
Right.
Yeah, and just let it go. Now, what, you know, like, I was just thinking on the way over, talking about the post-election things. The things you saw today with the president and the vice president both calling and talking to Mr. Trump and doing that, that's all real good. Because think if it was in the other way around.
Right.
Think of the turmoil this country would be in right now. Because he was not going to admit that he'd got legitimately beat.
No.
He could not make that phone call. It's not in his DNA.
Right.
And he knows it and I know it. But the fact that, so, you know, who knows? I think I'm through talking for a while.
That was wonderful.
Is that all right?
Molly is in the chat saying, preach Papa more.
I know, I had it. Well, what I was trying to think of is, how could I preach in a way that would be bringing us together? What message do I have? And I don't have too much because it's hard.
It is hard.
So, I mean, I empathize with the whole thing, but I'm not going to. Well, yeah, I think there's still a chance. A lot of people are very disappointed in the country.
Terrified.
Yeah, well, there's that too. But just the fact that you don't think you really want to live here anymore, well, I just don't think that's I don't know, that to me sounds like giving up.
Mm-hmm.
And,
When you should be stepping up.
Exactly. Well said. All right, I'm shutting up for a while.
Thoughts?
I agree with you. I mean, I saw friends like that too, and I was like, to say like all Republicans, anybody that voted for him is terrible, it's the same as Trump saying all migrants are terrible. I mean, you're just taking a group of people and putting them under the thing that you hate him for doing. You just, out of anger at him, did the exact same thing to everybody that voted for him.
Right.
So I agree. I mean, there, like you said, there's some morons. That, there's some people just that's just their parents were Republicans. They
There's
don't.
a lot of fighting
even
fire
know.
with fire going on.
Well, I didn't elaborate too much about what I was talking about in terms of that intellectual thing. See, that idea that's just not valid. But you could also look at it as that the ones that went to college have more given to them. They get better jobs without having to work for them. And those red areas are all people that are working. Mm-hmm. And it was the working class that swayed the election in all areas. And the things that they were concerned about were what you do about trying to get by on down here at the bottom of the whole system. But we tend to think that Trump represents up here, but for them, what he's doing is he's kicking their butts because he has the same animosity toward intellectuals. They can feel it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's visceral. These intellectuals we were talking about earlier, that because, I don't think that it's not like he couldn't do well in college, but he didn't see a reason to do that. If he could get by another way, he was going to do it because he was busy doing other things. Mm-hmm. But he was learning.
Yes, I was talking to somebody, they were like how she was selling a bright future, and everybody that was comfortable enough now to look towards the future, that's great. If, like basically you said, though, if you've got, your wife passed away and you got raising 2 kids, the future's great, but right now, he keeps saying over and over, economy, that's all you hear. He's got you by your soft spot, Oh, great, the future will be great, but, which I don't believe all the stuff he says, but,
Oh, yeah.
that's what he's giving you.
Well,
But I still can't believe it.
But what I was addressing was why it was so red is that there's more people out there that are working class that don't have that idea of the college education or a rich family or a lot of money to back them, and they're just working people, mm-hmm. and they're not going to be anything else, and they want to be, if you do a day's work, you ought to be able to pay your bills and then still go to the grocery store. Mm-hmm. So we got to fix that. And it'll be interesting to see how that gets done.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders said something very similar to what you're saying, Steve. I don't know it off the top of my head. It's out there everywhere, though. Mm-hmm. But
who?
Bernie Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
Said
That's awesome.
Not listening to the working class
was
a problem.
The other, if I was going to keep on preaching, which I might as well.
Might as well.
I'll never use this voice again.
Well, use
Wear it out.
I'm going to go before no, I didn't say that. I swear I didn't. Listen to his voice.
That is not me.
That's not me.
Hook up your voice recognition software.
Yeah, I'll pass.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I going to say?
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
He was talking about Bernie Sanders saying basically the same thing you did.
Let's see. Something about the election itself. I lost it over there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it might come back.
But you said if I might as well keep preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still firing through stuff about it. Yep, I did say that.
I remember,
All you
I
kids go
remember
home
saying
now.
that. I just don't remember anything before or after.
You guys want to hear the Bernie Sanders quote?
I've
While
already-
you're trying to recollect?
I've already heard it, but go
okay.
ahead.
I haven't.
Yeah.
He said yesterday, it should come as no great surprise that a Democratic Party which has abandoned working class people would find that the working class has abandoned them. While the Democratic leadership defends the status quo and the American people are angry and want change, and they're right. And he goes on, but that's
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about when you said that. I had heard that quote, which is that's the thing. I remember now. It's back. Where do we go? One of the things we have to go with that is that a lot of people voted. A lot of people in that category I'm talking about in those red states that are resentful of those people. But what they're saying is that they don't believe everything that Trump's telling them. They like the fact that he's kicking their butts. Mm-hmm. And he just responds like abortion, or he'll go with what they want. In other words, he's representing them. And so, and the more that he attacks them, and them is just, now here's the other thing. Whoever has been in charge the last 4 years is ripe for the picking. I think that's the other thing that we don't get a lot of times in these polls is when you get right down to it, I want to change. And the world of politics only gave me was one choice, but I want change. So how much of that logic goes in there? Where they're not really caring what you think of Trump because they're not really worried about Trump. They're worried about their groceries, and they like the way he sticks it to them, and the way his crude talking. He's learned that he's doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because there's a group of people that identify with that way of talking about stuff. It's all contrived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an instinctual move.
Well,
a lot less people voted this year than in 2020 on both sides, which is pretty interesting.
That is interesting
That
too.
people just disengaged.
It got old quick. I mean, you say she was only in the race for 3 months, but I saw a lot of her. Definitely saw enough of him.
Going to see a lot more of him.
Oh gosh,
That's the saddest part for me. It's just having to. I mean, it's 4 years. That's a lot of years.
it was exhausting before.
I hope they'll be smart enough just to give him his own show and let him just do anything he wants. And
I think
people
we
that
just
want,
did.
Yeah, I think that's basically what just happened.
I think we just did.
A reality show.
yeah,
But I definitely feel you on the point of looking down the Facebook wall. It's amazing how many people are so overtly talking about unfriending people. Like it's like every other post is I just unfriended too much, and that whole weird passive aggressive thing, just unfriend me, which is just strange to me. But there's there's so much of that energy, and it just seems like just such the wrong move in terms of effectiveness. Like I don't know. It
well, it's
just deepening the divide doesn't seem to be the move. But I understand, because for a lot of people in their perception, we just went fascist. There's people that are completely believe that we are Germany in the 30s right now. I mean, I can see the parallels to a certain extent. I don't have that kind of. I don't think America's about to try to take over the entire world and put a bunch of people in gas chambers or anything like that. But but when you are in that mindset, like, oh my God, like what would you, I think a lot of people have done the mental exercise of what would I have done in Germany in the 30s, and they want to do that, whatever it is they think they would have done, and that's a noble instinct.
Oh, yeah.
But on the other hand, what if that mentality will make things exponentially worse? What if?
Well, here's a point I would like to make about what you're saying is, I believe that people have different ways of doing things and different skills. Some people are good speakers. Some people are good at showing up. Some people are good at, there's some people that are just real good at protesting. And I wasn't a protester because I don't like groups of people. I'm a loner, so I don't do that very well. But that doesn't mean that they're right and I'm wrong. It's not. I think in some cases they might need to do that, and then they'll get over it. They had an emotional response, and they needed to get that out. And then later on, they'll probably call them up and say something. It'll work out. But it's all right. I mean, it's all right. It's all right to be that way, I think, for some people. Mm-hmm. It's not right for everybody, and it's not, and it doesn't have to be right. And you can change the way you do it. But I do think that everybody does things a little differently, mm-hmm. and that's a good way to look at it.
And that is important.
Yeah, because for some people it might be they might need to do it because they can't. They're too stressed reading that stuff. Mm-hmm. Which the idea might be just to get off Facebook.
Right.
Take a walk. I'm done.
I just think, I really don't follow politics that much, but I really don't see, Trump, what I know about his beliefs and what he would try to do is, of course, I don't agree with any of that type of stuff. But I don't remember having my life be so terrible when he was president. I just remember, like you were saying, go away. Like, I can't take it. Do whatever you're doing. Just don't do anything too bad, but I don't want to hear every thought you have. It just became, if he had come up this year and said everything I believed in, I would still be like, I can't vote for him. Mm-hmm. It was just, I guess, I read too. A lot of people don't even listen to what he says. That's just, they want something different.
Yeah.
I don't even care who the two people are. I want the one we just didn't have.
I feel like a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that everybody's looking at the same information and coming away with two very different conclusions. Definitely. Where the thing that scares me the most about this whole unfriending movement or whatever this is solidifying the walls of our bubbles.
Right.
Seems like a very bad move. Like what you should be doing is friending every conservative you can find. like that would be a more interesting move to me than solidifying, because what is really happening is people are looking at two completely different sets of information, living in two radically different realities. And I could see, if you just saw the same thing I saw and you said that, then we have a big problem. But that is not happening on a day in, day out basis. You're looking at a completely different set of information. I'm looking at this, and we're assuming we're looking at the same thing. But the impasse is more how much in our bubbles we really are. The Trump that we see is not the same Trump the conservatives see. If you can just switch between CNN or MSNBC and Fox News and see these are two completely different realities. Oh, yeah. Two completely different algorithms that you've amassed by your likes and comments and things you're intrigued. Even on social media, the algorithms are catering to your point of view, and your confirmation, your biases are confirmed by the algorithms on a daily basis. Here's more evidence for what you think. Here's more evidence for your worldview. But the other people are getting a completely different wall. They're reading completely different articles, listening to completely different voices, and there's so many ways that we could healthily combat that, but it seems like everybody instinctually is doing the most unstrategic, like politics is war. And at the end of the day, you can't base your strategy on what you think of the enemy. It doesn't. What you think of the enemy doesn't matter. It is not going to help you win the war. Yeah, but they're evil. Okay, yeah, but you still lost the battle. You have to. If you want to win the war, you're going to have to figure out how to win the battles. And that's where I get really frustrated, because I feel like every time I try to talk to my fellow soldiers about how we're strategically losing these battles, they feel like I'm siding with the enemy. And the conversation never happens.
Yeah.
Well said. I like that. Well, and I think that's what we're talking about. The thing about Jabberjawn that it needs to be given credit for. It's one of the few places you can go and watch a conversation. You don't usually see that anymore. And that means where people take turns saying something and listening. Now, I'm not saying I remember everything, but I'm listening. But, conversations give and take and give and take. And I respect what we do because I want to hear what y'all are saying and thinking about these things. And it's always interesting to me to hear what you had to say. So that's that's called conversation, but it's very rare, and that's exactly what you're saying. What we're doing is shutting down the conversation, which is exactly one political strategy.
Right.
One is an attempt to do exactly that, because that is part of the whole thing is divide and conquer. Yeah.
Well, I guess we all had this. We've seen the same thing, the unfriended and stuff. I was like, that's like if let's say Joe's a big Eagles fan, you were a big 49ers fan.
Go Cowboys.
And you played in the Super Bowl, and you're all in the room, and it's you really don't want to hear his shit. He didn't want to hear his receiver catches a good pass, but you don't appreciate it. And then at the end of the game, if you two just said, "I'm never talking to you again," and stormed off because your team lost, that's the dumbest thing you do. You pout, of course. All right, I'll see you later, Joe. You walk out of there, but a week later, you're not mad at him anymore. These people are reacting so suddenly to a sudden pain. Like, just let the winners get it out of their system.
Well,
and
people are afraid.
Yeah, I mean,
people are afraid.
that's valid.
And it's valid.
Yeah.
In their minds, it's definitely valid. And that's the only thing they have to go on. So, yeah, there's some, and we're here to try to lighten that load, too, because they haven't got us yet.
They stole your voice. That's what I'm worried about. Who's
Well,
listening to it?
I appreciate the fact that I'm actually an AI thing, and y'all have let me act like him. But I appreciate it. Y'all taking me in just like you would if I was really Steve Moore. Because if it ever comes up in court, I've denied anything I said tonight.
All right, wait, we're almost out of time. We have to talk about something else. We all agreed not to talk about politics.
Oh, you got something you want to talk about?
No, but we gotta have something better. Not better, but we're gonna.
Well, tell me about Jelly Donut. Well, how was that boy? How'd he do out there? Was he good?
Kyle and I both attended the same arena concert.
Arena concert.
It's arena.
Yeah. I heard they did some fancy fireworks.
There was pyrotechnics galore.
Good
For
Lord.
sure.
Nobody hurt?
No, unscathed.
Good.
Yeah.
But I never. What did you call it? Coliseum shows? Is that-
Arena.
Oh yeah, arenas. Whatever the big gathering spot you talk about. I never go to places like that. I just can't afford it. Plus, I'd rather see it. Just for whatever reason, I don't go to it. But I went to this show with some friends, and I thought, okay, this will be, we're gonna be way back, and you're not gonna feel anything. And it's not gonna be. I thought he put on like you felt like you were down there with him, and when he talked to the crowd, even if he was over there on that side, you felt like he was talking to you. I thought he did a great job.
And this is Jelly Roll, by the way. If anybody that doesn't know he's got a #1 hit right now called "I'm Not Okay." This is a big hit, and he's talked about it a little bit going in, but he's definitely got a calling it a shtick, I feel like, is a little disrespectful, but it is sort of a shtick or whatever of like.
He's got a spiel. Spiel.
And it's powerful, and that hit song sort of sums it up. But a lot of his songs are sort of walking that line of redemption and like a skull started out on stage, and eventually the skull rose, and then a rosary dropped down, and the house is on fire. I'm not okay, but it's all going to be all right. Like that's. So he's really, like there's a lot. He did this amazing thing where, he when he was young, he went to jail. The guy that opened up for him before, apparently they were childhood friends, and his friend had a song about like, I went to college and he went to jail, and that was a good song. But so he has this whole thing. So every town that he plays in, he goes to local prisons and stuff and talks to the inmates, basically as a, like, look, I did it, you can do it, inspirational kind of thing. Cool. And he went to a local prison, and 4 of the inmates there sang him one of his songs back to him in a way that really stuck with him throughout the day. And he ended up calling the warden there and was like, I just want to see what it would take to get those guys to my show. And he actually, not only did they get to the show, but he had them on stage to perform their version of his song. So that kind of stuff was very inspiring, powerful, and his voice is amazing, and the band was really great. Those backup singers were just.
I thought when the 4 guys from the prison came out, just the look on his face, you could tell he wasn't just, this one look good, get him out of here. He was looking at him, it seemed like the way we look at you when you sing. It was like, like what in the world you were witnessing. It was really cool the way. I thought he was really into it.
Mm-hmm. He seems like a really genuine guy. That's why I didn't want to say shtick or spiel, because he seems like it's coming from a very powerful and genuine place. Yeah, exactly.
Good for him. That's great. That's a great review.
It was funny. I went to the doctor, whatever day it was, someday this week, and she was reviewing my blood sugar levels, and she said, "Oh, Wednesday, you really dropped." And I said, "Yeah, I went to a show," and I explained to him about not being able to find the car and stuff. She goes, "Oh, who'd you go see, Jelly Roll?" This was so weird to talk to my doctor about going to see Jelly Roll. Like a 60-year-old man.
It was a big event in these parts.
Yeah.
So here's a comment worth talking about. Back to our other conversation. Studa says, I think the conversation here is missing something around privilege. Undeniable harm occurred under Trump's first presidency for folks quite marginalized. And I definitely think a lot about that. Like a lot of, if I'm not as afraid by a Trump presidency because I'm just a white dude. Like if I was an immigrant or a trans person or any number of marginalized groups, it's a lot or scary to see that kind of backlash against you getting a baby step forward or whatever, and it feels like it's almost a direct attack on your little bit of progress you might have made. Or
well, I mean, we haven't even talked about a lot of those things that are actually real things for everybody. The whole idea of what they're going to do with the borders is, that's potentially could be very damaging to a lot of young people. So who knows? Well, all those things are on the table. I acknowledge that. I mean, I'm not saying your fear is not legitimate.
Right.
Your fear is your fear. We all fear different things based on our experiences.
I was going to say, I've heard, plenty of people on the news talking about it, but my mom said it, and my mom doesn't talk about a lot of serious stuff that much, but she said, my mom's 80, and she said she's 80 years old, and she's used to women not getting a job they're equal to or whatever. She said that's just, that's how she grew up. She said, she kept telling me it's so important that we teach these young girls and stuff. Like this is just one bad thing. Don't give up. This you can't just. Mom said she just eventually became used to it. Because that's just it was like it was a daily part of life. That was just the way she was like, oh my God, I can't tell you how important it is. We got to make sure these girls don't grow up feeling that way. And I think that if I was a woman and she lost, I'd be like, oh my God, why again? She's obviously more qualified in a million ways. That's just so frustrating. But it's just weird having that conversation with my mom, sort of.
Yeah, there are, lots of different things you can be afraid of.
But our local city council is looking good.
Apparently this
Yeah.
worked. Corey
Yeah,
did
we
win.
only support
Congratulations,
winners.
Corey Park.
All right.
And that's
Congratulations.
a wonderful
Yeah.
thing. It's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Couldn't be a better person for the job.
I think it'll be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she's one of our sponsors.
Yep. Thank you for the sponsorship.
No, I mean, it's probably some illegal thing about that. She never sponsors
No,
us
no,
at
no,
all.
no,
No,
we-
What do you think about the weather? Crazy?
About the weather?
80 degrees in the middle of November? That seems
Well,
good to
talk about
you?
scary. Right?
Drill, baby, drill.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even believe it. I almost think that my childhood was like a fantasy, because I just remember like winter was like winter. And I always think this too, like, well, I'm an adult now, I'm not affected by cold as much, right? It's not as exciting to miss. I remember like just winter was winter. I don't remember ever seeing my dad in November sitting there talking to us in a t-shirt.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's so palpable and ominous, and I feel like it must have a very strange impact on our subconscious and our psyche in ways that we don't even deal with in the top of our brain. It's just like underneath there is like all these ominous warnings from scientists over the years and all these terrible possibilities. And then you're just the muggy, sweaty day in November. Like, just if it's got to be really affecting our psyches. But you just push it down. Like,
Well,
you don't even let it come up to your conscious brain. But that squelching of that stuff inside our.
It's so crazy you said that, because when I left work yesterday, and your brain gets used to when it gets dark, you might have to put a sweatshirt on or wear a sweater or something. So I'm expecting to go out the door to go to my car. It's getting dark. I'm like, it's as hot as like a damn summer day out here. I think it does. It throws you off. Like, wait a minute, something's not right here. We either need more light or a little bit less heat in this room. we're still so stunned by the election. I can't even think.
Well, I guess I can't. I guess like there's so much we could talk about in terms of that other conversation. We could easily spend days talking about so many aspects of the election, our cultural divide, all that stuff. But
Well, let me make an observation. As a conclusion to the thing, what can we do to fix this? And I think something that we have to look at, it's not about the presidency, it's about our whole way of politics in general. And this two-party system we've got. But what we've got to do at a better level is hiring people that are trying to do the right thing for the country, instead of being a Democrat or a Republican, that they And the first thing you look at is, are you willing to cross the aisle? I want someone that's ability to say, this is the right thing. John Warner was like that, a Republican representative of the great state of Virginia. And he was a Republican, but he did the right thing. And I'm proud to say that our two senators right now, I think, fit into that category. Both Warner and Kane are that kind of person. They do cross the aisle to get legislation done. And that's what we've got to fix. You know, the first thing you look at was like, how do you fix the immigration thing? Well, they came together. They had a bipartisan agreement that they were going to put into effect, and the president, Mr. Trump, said, no, let's don't do that. Let's wait till the election.
Right. I need it to be bad.
So that's just a bad example of what we want, and I'm not criticizing him. I'm criticizing all politicians that do that, that put the what's good for the party ahead of what's good for the country. And you see that because the whole idea of politics in the old days was figuring out a way to get a compromise going. Now we have a system that is so divisive that we don't look for compromise. We look to win, but not ever to solve. But what happens is it doesn't solve any problems that the country has. And that's just terrible. And that's where we are. When you say the people out in the red are disillusioned with the Democrats, it's just the system that isn't changing to meet their needs. And, you know, both sides feel that same way. And that's because it's not happening in the Congress. It's all that bipartisan stuff is, because politicians didn't used to get elected like that. You know, it wasn't a case of millions of PAC money coming in. It was your character would determine it. And we need to get back to that.
Now, do you have growing up in all these years that you've been around, do you have a favorite president or one that really captured your attention or did stuff that you really appreciated?
Well, I had fallen into the John F. Kennedy dream world. You know, I've seen those documentaries, and probably I didn't know a lot of that stuff was going on, but yeah, I would say he was important. And
so when he came out, or when you found out about him, you were really excited about him, and
well, I supported him. I don't get too excited about politics. I'm too selfish.
And then after that, was there anybody?
Well, I respected Jimmy Carter. I mean, he was a real Christian in my mind, and that's rare. And I've always respected him. I don't know that he was the greatest president. I'm not a student of politics. It's all emotional.
Right, it's all emotional.
You know, I can tell you more of them I didn't like than I did, and I don't want to talk about them.
So what was the first election you voted for? What year would that have been?
Oh, gosh.
Like 68
Did you get
or
to vote
something?
for Kennedy? You weren't that old enough yet.
No, I don't know, he might have been 21. I don't know, I guess it was 18. So that would have been around 67. I don't do years, so I don't know who was
So you would have been like I guess you would have been voting in 67. Yeah.
Humphrey, I think I had the choice of it. I wasn't a Nixonite.
Was that Johnson that won that year?
I never liked him that much personally.
Who?
Lyndon Johnson. He did some good things, but I don't know. He just didn't hit me.
Ford, old football player.
Well, I respected him. I think he tried to do the right thing every time. I think he was trying to.
Was he a Republican?
I think so. Yeah.
See, I don't really remember. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I didn't even have any clue what was going on, but I do remember a feeling of like liking him. When I would see him on TV, I would think he looked like somebody that I would trust. And,
Yeah, he was a good old boy.
yeah.
Well, the cultural divide really goes back far. I feel like it's sort of
Well,
been, it's
and
sort of
that-
been happening since the early 1900s, even.
And that, you know, well, you can go back to Virginia. You know, you had your plantations and, you know, the whole idea of elite Southern class of gentlemen. Then you had the workers.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've come a long way.
Any questions out there?
If not, you're dismissed. Steve,
Here's
never
a
said.
different topic entirely.
Good.
What do y'all think of the politics of hiring friends for work?
Like to do work around here, like to go work.
Yeah,
together?
like whether it's a electrician, like if you,
I'd go with the first time I do. I'll ask a friend over, but then I'm evaluating how much they charge and what they can do and how much they know. I just don't have any other electrical problems for them if they don't pass my test.
and so
But yeah, I'll try someone the first time.
it-
But
it-
you have to have
it seems like it's a minefield no matter which way you go. Like if I have an electrical issue and I have a friend that's an electrician, I feel like if I go to somebody else, I'm not giving my friend work. But then when you go with your friend, they sort of feel like you know, now it's a weird thing. Do I charge them my normal rates? Do I give them a friend's discount? Like there's so many. It's a minefield no matter which way you go. It seems like. And I was wondering if, from your life experience, if you found any rules about how to navigate that.
Well, I would say this: if you're just talking about fixing a socket or something like that, I'd go with a friend and see how, you know, play it out and don't worry about it. But if I was going to hire somebody to do a real, like wire a room or something that took significant skill and time, then I would try to talk a business deal and talk about how we were going to solve that very issue.
Mm-hmm.
Do it before you start getting into it and just talk to them. And if you're a friend, you
just
say,
make them real nervous about what they're getting into.
well, you know, you say, I'm going to hire you at what your rate is, what's your rate, and then I'll hire you, and I appreciate you doing a good job, and we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But if they couldn't do it, then they're not going to, you know, I don't know. I think it's not a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to be upfront.
Right.
I think that's important. 'Cause then
That
you-
I'm not looking for a special deal from you. I just want my friend to get the work.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's
Yeah.
some unspoken stuff can lead to having a good conversation, thorough before beginning.
Real
is
conversation.
important. Right. It's important.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember a couple of weeks ago the big story about my toilet not working? Remember we were all caught up in that excitement. I didn't have the thing to turn it. You don't remember?
No, what wasn't working?
Yes, or maybe I told you.
What was it? What was it?
Oh, it was at the party. Okay. Well, anyway, my toilet. We got the toilet all taken apart.
Oh, yeah,
And it had like this. So whatever. We had to call. So we got a friend of a friend to come over. That's another thing. You know, how much do you trust a friend? And the guy said he was gonna be there at 10 o'clock, and I just got home at 10. And this little sports car pulls up in front of me, and I go in. I walk up the steps, like, why is that idiot parked in front of my house? And then I'm looking at him. It's like, man, it's 10 o'clock. He's got this little fancy blue sports car. I said, are you the plumber? And he said, yeah. And instantly I thought, something's not right here. He's somebody's friend. He's not really a plumber, you know. He doesn't have a truck. He doesn't have anything. I was like, what have I done? But then he came in and he's like, so automatically I was just like a little bit, not that I didn't trust him, but I was a little bit worried. Like that, then I knew I just got some, you know, whatever you need done, you know, I'll do it. But he came in and he talked a little bit. And then we didn't have, I had to go get the part. And so he said, well, I'm going to go do somebody else's job and I'll come back. And I didn't even know, like, is he really going to come back? You know, he's just like talking to me, like, you can figure this out. But he came back and he did a very good job. So it was from how, like we were talking about how you judge people, just that he was in a little sports car, I automatically judged, like, you don't know how to fix the toilet anymore than I do. You know, zip on down the road and get out of here.
I thought you were going to say you thought he must charge an awful lot.
Right.
Driving that little car.
God, how much is this going to cost me?
Well, it's also guys like that, you don't even know, like if a plumber comes, you figure there's like some plumbers, to stay in business, they have to charge a certain like fee. You know, they're not going to charge 70, one got 30 because, you know, they never get any business. But so when that guy just told me what it was, it seemed cheap. I was like, man, am I overpaying him? What if I got some other Mr. Handyman to come over here? Like, you don't really have any, what's making him not look at me and think, I know this clown doesn't know what a plumber would be. Mm-hmm. That'd be $500, sir. God, that's expensive, but here's your check, you know. Yeah, but if you do find somebody that can fix stuff, whew, they're a lifesaver. I miss my brother. He'd come in. I would try to hold stuff together till he'd get the stand and be able to fix it for me.
You tried YouTube first?
I mean, I can't do. I really, if you try to get me to do anything, I can't do it. I had to. The hospital has this thing, the portal. Do you have that? You probably get it. Like they send you all your information in the portal, you know. So you can, it's like a app or something. And so every time I go, and I have to go to the doctor's lot, they'll be like, sign into the portal. I'm like, oh, no, I forgot it. They're like, we'll give you a password. It's good for 48 hours. And of course, I go home, never think about it. So last night, Stephanie was like, we're going to get your phone sort of up to date. We're going to get this portal in there. She's like, oh my God, you have 59 messages from the hospital. I was like, I don't think any of them are important. You know, let's just move on. But like, so, you know, even like the simple stuff like that, I can't. I wouldn't even be able to, you know, too much. I do need to find somebody that can change headlights, so like replace the whole part. I'll pay good money for that.
Don't have a mechanic or anything?
Well,
could Hershey's do it, or
that's what I'm gonna call. God, Steve, you're always one step ahead of me. I'm gonna call Hershey's tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's since it's a Hyundai, they have to go to a Hyundai place because people keep telling me it's just not the headlights. I gotta take the grill off, and it's like a big piece that comes out.
Man.
But as he'll tell you, driving in my car at night is like you got like a candle on a long stick out in front of you.
Keeps blowing out. Hey, Silas, good to see your name.
Man, this is the most quiet we've ever had. I think I am sort of in shock from this election. I hate bringing it up all the time, but I am in shock. It was scary seeing my mom so upset. Not scary, but disturbing to see my mom so upset. I was like, oh, I'm just calm down. I know, just.
Well, I might be just postponing it, but I'm just trying to see where we go next and put one foot in front of the other and get through another day.
Mm-hmm. But that's something else I was thinking. Like, I was thinking about this today. Like, somebody wrote in and said privilege. Like, I am comfortable enough that I'm privileged to the worst thing in my life that the person I didn't vote for, that the person I voted for didn't win. That's privilege. If that's the thing that's upset you so much and you're walking around and can really worry about that, you're privileged. If you're scraping for food and stuff, you don't give a crap who wins the election. You don't have time to think about it. You care, but you're not going to sit at home with, oh gosh, you know, you'd be like hammering nails or nursing, whatever you're doing. So I was like, man, I'm like a big baby. It's really upset me so much because I can walk around and pout, you know, for a week or whatever. That's privilege, man.
Well, I think also you're going back to what are you afraid of? Where does your fear come from? And some people are seeing a whole lot of things to be afraid of with the transition.
Right.
And,
But like he said, so I'm a white dude. Nothing's gonna really come get me. Or
what's that?
well, like Nathan said, he doesn't really have to fear, or none of us really do. White dudes, sitting at home, they're not, we're not worried about all the stuff he's talking about. We're worried about it, but it's not really going to affect us. Well, that's not true. It'll affect us, but it's not going to rip us out of the house or take our rights away or anything.
Well, we hope. Yeah, it's there's just different things you can worry about, and I think I'm just trying to do not worrying. I saw a thing Willie Nelson today was saying, worrying never helped anything. So,
Yes, before they even have it, I saw some Mark Twain quote that said something like, "I worried about hundreds of things and maybe 2 of them have happened." Like, you just worry about stuff that for
all the time. Yeah, we worry about some crazy things.
And once you get into that state of worry, it heightens your senses in not necessarily the right ways. Like I was thinking yesterday about how when I would get freaked out as a kid alone at home when I was a little kid, and like once I would get into that fear state, every little limb that would brush against the window was somebody trying to kill me outside the window. Just like like the same noises would be happening in other frames of mind that I wouldn't notice at all. I just be like, oh, it's a limb or whatever. But just how that you can get yourself into a certain state where you just all input coming in is going through that filter, and it changes the reality.
Well, I do think age helps with that some too. At my age, there's a lot of things I don't worry about. I got plenty to worry about. Don't worry.
Believe you me, you could.
I nailed that
That's
one.
another shirt.
Yeah, that might come back to quote me. Yeah. I'll probably replay that and try to remember how I said that. But, yeah.
We went and saw an old guy, just a character this weekend. He's a serious drinker, destroyed his life in lots of ways. But he said, I've been drunk almost all the time. And the times that I'm not, I'm just drunk by reputation. I thought that was like the greatest line. Like, even if you're not drunk, somebody sees you walking down the street, there's that old drunk,
Yeah. That's a good line.
Drunk by reputation.
He said something that's been in my mind. We were talking about the walls and stuff. And he said it's time to step up, and I thought that was a wonderful thing to say. But step up, not to press against somebody, and don't stop fighting. Press for what you want, for what you think is right, not just against. Like you were saying, it's just too much of a battle. Like let these people do what they got to do. We have to keep moving the way we want the world to go, instead of just pounding against somebody else, trying to make them believe what we want them to believe. That's when you said step up, I thought that was very good.
And there's lots of ways to do that.
We're going to do it by breaking into buildings and fixing them up again, so when people come downtown, they'll be like, what?
Inverse vandals.
That's right. The inverse vandals. That's a good band.
And I mean, you never know what you have your worries, you have your fears, but nobody knows what the future holds. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and we all have a role to play in shaping the future still. I heard someone talking on a podcast earlier today talking about how, if Romney had beat Obama, like that would have felt like, oh God, like why are
Right.
what it's but if Romney had beat Obama, we probably wouldn't have Trump. Like that never would have happened. Like there's possible scenario. The future will be a certain way. We don't know which way it's going to be. To think you know what it's going to be is wrong. You should think you know what you want it to be, and act accordingly.
Right.
But thinking that you know what's about to happen, or I don't. You just never know.
You're talking to an addicted gambler, so I know exactly what you're trying to tell me.
You hear me?
I hear you. I ain't listening, but I hear you.
Did you want him to review the treasures we found in the treasure
Well, he's got a
chest?
cold, so I don't want to touch it.
Well, I just held it on the way in. Lord.
He just held them in his mouth on the way in.
What's the?
I don't know that there's anything he's too crazy about. But
Percy Boyd, Daydream Hog.
Yeah.
that looks
Well,
interesting.
It says 10 on it, so I guess there's 10. We should put this on. I bet that's
Do
interesting.
you think you?
I have a feeling that Daydream Hog came from an autocorrect incident, if my very distant memory serves. I am
So
curious.
you think there might be a song in there you don't have heard forever?
You know, what turned out to be one of my big classic hits or whatever was a song. It was a CD very similar to this. I remember I was in my little office on West Beverly Street, and I found this CD that looked a little bit like this, and I stuck it in, and there was this song I had no recollection writing. But I listened to it, and I was like, that's not a bad song. And it turned out to be So Close to Dreams.
Wow.
It was one of Nana's and Mom's favorite songs of all time.
Yeah.
But it was a song that I didn't remember writing. I hadn't remembered recording it, but I put in a CD just like, so one of these 10 songs might be a forgotten about
Yeah.
classic. So I'll have to put that on and see what's on
Definitely.
there. Doug asks, is there any value in worrying so as to prepare for something like national stop and frisk laws or lower standards on reasonable suspicion? Well, I'm sort of I definitely have prepper instincts in a lot of ways or whatever, in terms of worrying leading to preparation, leading to like way too many canned goods or whatever.
No, wait, what's his question? Is it worth worrying about?
Is there any value in worrying so as to prepare?
Oh yeah.
Well, preparing and worrying,
Yeah. Yeah, if you're just
Yeah,
worrying, it's preparing helps.
If the worry is a catalyst to preparation, and the preparation is cathartic in terms of relieving your worrying, then you're in a good place.
Wow.
If you're
That sounded very academic. Did you go to college?
3 years, baby.
So is this question, should we worry, or is it he wants us to talk about the stop and serve?
It might have just been an example.
I thought he had to start it somehow instead of just say stop and serve. What was he talking about?
Stop and frisk.
Stop and frisk. No, we don't want that.
I can't even believe how much places got away with that stop and frisk stuff. But that happened a long time ago. I was so shocked that was even possible. But do you know what we're talking about? Like New York City did it, and they can just stop you and frisk you. And I just couldn't believe that was happening in America. And this is, I guess, still going on today.
Yeah, that's another one of those things. Privilege. We don't even know what it's like. It's just, like to us, it seems unfathomable, and to other people, it's probably like a weekly thing. It's just. I wish I had some suggestion to make, but.
So, are you saying that only cops are supposed to stop and frisk people?
Have you just been letting anybody
I might
do
be
it?
in trouble.
It's the same old lady that stands on the street corner every week. Come on, Lex, stop and frisk. Come on over here. Get on home now, boy. No, so stop and frisk, didn't he have two things?
Lower standards on reasonable suspicion.
Oh man, he's got serious questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure even
Oh, that was just
where that national stop and I haven't even heard that talked about until this comment.
Me neither.
And I'm pretty voracious when it comes to consuming all the political stuff, but I'm sure
A lot of internet going on.
a lot of internet happening up in here.
I thought you were gonna say.
from all sides.
I thought you were gonna say you're pretty interested in consuming all the drugs, so you were worried about the stuff. Because I don't want to have to consume them all at once when I see the police coming.
Well, we made it through it. Is the elephant still in the room? I guess so. There's always an elephant in the room.
Well, I think I was.
Is that what that smell is?
That's why we got these shovels.
And people, seriously, we did not plan on talking about. We had sort of.
We never plan on what to talk about.
But we have an ongoing thing. We're not going to talk about politics. We don't want. We know y'all hear enough of that. So we take it very seriously that we actually were passionate enough to talk about it. We weren't just trying to waste your time.
Oh, sure.
Even though we did make a lot of stuff up.
Well, we probably should have had a fact checker here for tonight's
We
show.
should have. I know.
That would have helped. No. It's just that's what we do nowadays, right?
That's what we need. God, I wonder if we just started talking. It's like you said, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. If we get how many lies we could get past you. If how fast you'd have to go to keep up with the stuff we were saying.
Oh wow, yeah, that'd be.
Like if we just said, yeah, I remember the
Definitely.
'82 Super Bowl when the Redskins beat the Dolphins.
And then you
And you'd have
immediately
to
started
be-
talking about something
yeah.
else. I'm like, wait, what?
We need a panel.
I have a
You
friend.
need a team.
I have a friend that used to work for National Geographic, and his job was any fact that was stated in an article, he had to check and make sure it was an actual fact. So he would just read any fact that came up. He had to verify that was the correct spelling or
He
the
was a truth
altitude
seeker.
or whatever. Yeah.
A professional truth seeker.
Who are we talking about?
It was a friend of mine that had that as one of his jobs. Like he worked as a, I guess, editor or proofreader at National
All right.
Geographic. They don't want to say, the Swiss Alps are this high and they're really, a typo or something. They had to check everything. This is the part of the show where we dim the lights. Drinks are half price during the song. No, 5 minutes after the song. Don't get up during the song. As soon as the song ends, you got 5 minutes to get half price drink. So buy a friend a drink. Buy a Republican friend a drink.
You're in charge of the silver lining. Yeah, those clouds are up to you. There's a sweet song somewhere when you're pining, just waiting until you're through. If you're determined, you can believe, and if you can believe, then you'll have faith, and if you have faith, then you can love, and if you can love, you'll be safe. You can make everything happen for a reason. There's no tragedy that's not the way to go. That's why there's time, that's why there's seasons. That's just how we roll on down the road. If you're determined, you can believe, and if you can believe, then you'll have faith, and if you
have faith, then you can love, and if you can love, you'll be safe. So don't be too hard on you. You're the one's gonna get you out of this. You must be all you need, count on it. Someday you will reminisce. And if you're determined, you can believe. And if you can believe, then you'll have faith. And if you have faith, then you can love. And if you can love, you'll be safe. If you're determined, you can believe. And if you can believe, then you'll have faith. And if you have faith, then you can love. And if you can love, you'll be safe.
That's America, people.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next time. Much love to you.
Keep on.
Keep on.
Get along.
Don't worry, a lot of people are going to be stepping up. Wow.
Now we crossed the line now.
We
Not
crossed
going
the
back.
Are we a political
I'm going to sit
podcast?
here naked next week. Just don't even care.
Hopefully we gave a little bit different